New York is where I'd rather stay. I get allergic smelling hay. I just adore a penthouse view. Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue.
The Chores.
The Chores.
37 on Earth Day, the 38th Earth Day, April 22nd, 2008. Well, I'll start with you along with Corinne Johnston, and it is also the anniversary of the birth of the man who ran the Green Acres Farm, Eddie Albert, born in 1906, died at the age of 99 years old after a tremendous acting career. And what better day to play Green Acres than on Earth Day, of course, and especially in light of our next segment, which is a reaction really to an announcement yesterday from Governor Jennifer Granholm. She announced yesterday that the state is joining the Climate Savers Computing Initiative to spur the utilization of more energy-efficient computers and servers in state offices and agencies. And before you yawn and say, well, so what? It's going to save the taxpayers of Michigan about $1 million a year, according to estimates from Climate Savers Computing Initiative. On the line with us right now, the co-chair of the board of directors of that organization. His name is Bill Weihl, and in his regular life, he's got one of the greatest corporate titles I've ever seen. He is the Green Energy Czar for Google. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, and I'm fascinated by this initiative that was started by Google and Intel a couple of years ago to basically make wiser decisions on our purchasing of energy gobblers, things like computers.
Exactly. We started this, actually, it was just about a year ago. Michigan, we now have, I think, 5 or 6 states that have joined. We've got about 200 companies, state governments, and universities that have joined. Michigan is one of the first now that's joined. And we're trying to improve the efficiency of computers, both in how they're the ones we purchase, but also then in how they're operated. So Michigan has signed up to purchase more efficient computers and also to use the energy-saving features that are in all the laptops and desktops that you can buy today.
In the Lansing area, we're especially energy intensive because we have so many IT companies here, insurance companies which use a lot of computers. People don't think about it, but folks in the computer business use a lot of electricity. I remember reading Google, didn't you have to build your own power plant?
We haven't built our own power plants yet, but that could happen someday. But certainly data centers use a lot of electricity. That's all those servers that we have and that other companies have run on electricity, and we depend on that every day. And one of the interesting things about computers is that historically people haven't paid a lot of attention to energy efficiency in them. They've been sold and they've been designed and built based on price, performance, and features, not energy efficiency. So a typical desktop computer uses about the same amount of energy over the year as your refrigerator. What we found is that, in fact, the technology is there to make those much more efficient than they are today. And the real issue is one of awareness and one of volume. So we expect, with the help of Michigan and others who are joining this initiative, as volumes go up, that the price of more efficient systems will come down. Currently, you'd expect to spend about $15 or $20 more at retail for a more efficient desktop computer.
I find this a really fascinating convergence of idealism with practical economics. I'm sitting here in front of a laptop with an Intel processor, like most of them have in the world, and one of the things Intel is concerned about with power consumption is allowing my battery to last longer, which is it's an environmental consideration, but the decision-making process probably had nothing to do with the environment.
I think that's absolutely right. Laptops have worried about this for a long time because of battery life, but desktops and even servers until recently, I think people weren't as concerned about energy efficiency. That's beginning to change, partly for environmental reasons, but also partly for economic reasons, because a desktop computer, you have it sitting there, you leave it running, it's likely going to light bulb burning all the time. People might leave a light bulb burning for a bit, but I think most of us wouldn't just leave it burning 24 hours a day if no one's in the room.
And again, a convergence of business with idealism with the computer industry and the IT industry. I'm going to generalize a lot here, but it's a young person's industry with a lot of idealism there, and at the same time, huge money involved, whether you're talking your company or EDS, which uses a lot of energy, or companies like Dell, Intel, Lenovo, Microsoft, Pacific Gas and Electric, and some of the other folks that are on your board that are focused on providing product.
That's right. That's right. And the World Wildlife Fund also is on our board, and they act partly as our conscience. So I think each of us has a pretty good conscience to start with. But this is a relatively young industry, certainly. But I think that business concerns are really critical. All of those companies you mentioned are large companies and very competitive businesses, and we've got to pay very close attention to economic issues.
Let's take it right down to the base level for the consumer. As we look at our computers at home, and I think we've got 3 operating at our place most of the time, what are some of the things we should be looking at as we replace our computers and as we operate them on a day-to-day basis in our own homes?
Well, as you replace them, one of the first things to do is to look for a computer that meets the Energy Star guidelines. With Climate Savers, we've taken Energy Star as our baseline, and then each year we're going to be raising the efficiency requirement. So you can look for Energy Star. If you want to look for one that goes beyond it, you can look on our website, or we have a product catalog that lists products that meet our guidelines, which will, as I said, in subsequent years will go beyond the Energy Star guidelines. In operating the computers, all computers today that you might buy have energy-saving modes called power management modes that allow them to use less power when they're idle and, in fact, put themselves to sleep and use only 1 or 2 watts when they're asleep. Most people know about these from their laptops, as you said, for battery life reasons. But I think most people don't even realize that their desktop computers can do the same thing. And for that matter, your laptop, when it's plugged in, one of the things we found is a lot of people, when they're using laptops, just leave them plugged in most of the time. So if you've got a laptop sitting on your desk, you probably have a cord plugged into it just to keep the battery charged up. A lot of laptops are configured to stay on when they're plugged in. They'll go to sleep when they're on battery, but when they're plugged in, they stay on. So we would encourage people to set those power management settings in a way that will cause this system to go to sleep after it's been idle for, say, 30 minutes. That will save an enormous amount of energy, probably on the order of 2/3 of the energy the system would otherwise use over the course of a year.
I have one computer at home that I use as a server, primarily for storage, and one of the things I've done with it is basically turn the display off after a minute of non-use because we never use the computer directly. Is that an effective way to save energy?
Turning off the display when the system's not in use is a great thing to do. In fact, a lot of people use screensavers. Screensavers are great to look at, but they use a lot of energy. So if you're not using a computer, I would say it's fine to have a screensaver run for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, but after about 15 minutes, you should have the display turn itself off. If you want to do it even sooner than that, after 1 or 2 minutes, that would be even better. Servers are harder. They need to be up and running and available when other computers want to use them, and that means that it's hard to actually put them to sleep. So if you've got a server computer for storage or other reasons at home, you might have to leave that on. But you definitely should have it shut down the unnecessary parts like the display.
Bill, really appreciate the fact you got out of bed so early. You are on the West Coast. So.
I am on the West Coast. I'd say it's bright and early out here, but I think at the moment all I can say is that it's early. I don't see any sign of the bright part yet.
Okay, well, give Larry Page our best. This is his hometown.
It is indeed, and he has, I think, very fond memories and attachment to Michigan and to Lansing.
Well, have him bring the jet back here. I'd love to take a look at it.
All right.
Appreciate it much. Bill Weihl, Google's Green Energy Czar, and also the co-chair of the Climate Savers Computing Initiative. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.